Hey everyone, welcome back. You ready for another deep dive?
Always ready. What are we exploring today?
Today we're going to get up close and personal with the leopard cat. And no, before you ask, we're not talking about like a fancy house cat.
Yeah, it's easy to think that when you hear the name.
Right. But trust me, these wild felines are anything but domesticated. I mean, they've got these amazing spots, incredible agility, and they're found all over Asia. We've got some incredible research here. By the end of this deep dive, you're going to be a leopard cat expert.
Sounds good to me.
We'll cover like everything from their appearance to their role in the ecosystem and the challenges they face. And I think you'll be surprised by some of the things we learn along the way.
I'm already intrigued. Let's dive in.
Okay, so first impressions. You see a picture of a leopard cat. What comes to mind?
Honestly, kind of looks like a slightly bigger, wilder house cat at first glance.
Right. You're not alone. But look closer.
Oh yeah, those markings are definitely something else. You've got spots, rosettes, streaks. It's like a whole art exhibit on their fur.
Yeah. No two leopard cats are exactly alike, are they?
Nope. And that actually varies by region, too. Think about it. If you're trying to blend in, camouflage, it makes sense that the patterns would evolve to match their environment.
So it's not just about looking cool, it's a survival tactic.
Exactly. And speaking of names, their scientific name is Prionailurus bengalensis, which can be a little misleading.
How so?
Well, I mean, it's got Bengal in the name, right? But their range extends way beyond just Bengal, all the way from the Russian Far East down to Southeast Asia. Pretty impressive, huh?
Whoa, that's a huge chunk of the world. So size-wise, are we talking like mini panther here or something closer to a house cat?
Okay, so definitely bigger than your average house cat, but nowhere near panther size. Haha. Their body length is usually between 46 to 65 centimeters.
Gotcha.
And then you add on the tail, which is another 20 to 30 centimeters.
Okay, so that's a pretty decent-sized cat, and I guess that explains the leopard part of the name a bit better. But you mentioned their agility earlier.
Yeah.
It's like, how agile are we talking?
Okay, so picture this. You're in a dense forest, right? It's nighttime, and all you can hear are the sounds of insects.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
And then, suddenly, this silent shadow slinks by. It's a leopard cat. Its spotted fur blending perfectly with the shadows. They're solitary creatures, these cats, mostly active at night and incredibly skilled at stalking and ambushing their prey.
Whoa, that's like straight out of National Geographic. What kind of prey are we talking here? Birds? Mice?
All of the above, plus small mammals, insects.
Hmm.
They're not picky eaters. But one of the coolest things is how adaptable they are. Depending on where they live, some leopard cats have even been known to catch fish and crabs.
No way, really?
Yeah, they're amazing climbers and swimmers. One minute they could be stalking a rodent through the trees, and the next they're diving into a stream for a fish.
That's wild. They're like the ultimate survivors. But with all this talk about their hunting skills, it makes you think, what's their role in the ecosystem? I mean, they're not lions or tigers or anything.
Yeah, but don't underestimate them. They might not be the biggest predators out there, but they're still apex predators, which means they're at the top of the food chain in their environment.
So even though they're not huge, they still play a big role.
Exactly. They help keep things in balance. By preying on smaller animals, they make sure no one species gets out of control. Think of them as like the quality control team of the ecosystem.
Makes sense. It's like a delicate balancing act, isn't it?
It really is. But unfortunately, that balance is being threatened.
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, the leopard cat is currently listed as a species of least concern by the IUCN.
Least concern. So that means they're doing okay, right?
It sounds that way, but it's not that simple. That designation can be a bit misleading because it doesn't mean they're not facing any threats.
So what kind of threats are they facing?
Well, the biggest one is habitat loss. Deforestation, agricultural expansion, urbanization. It's all shrinking their natural habitat.
I can see how that'd be a problem.
And then there's the illegal wildlife trade.
You mean like poaching?
Yeah. Their fur is in demand in some places, and sometimes they're even captured for the pet trade. All of that puts a lot of pressure on their populations.
It's so sad to hear that, especially after learning about how amazing and resilient they are.
It is. But it's not all bad news. Many countries have legal protections for leopard cats, and conservation efforts are underway.
Oh, that's good to know. Like, what kind of conservation efforts?
Well, there's a lot of focus on habitat preservation and anti-poaching measures. And, of course, raising public awareness is key.
Right. Got to get the word out.
Right.
So what can people do to help?
I'm glad you asked. Honestly, learning about them, like you're doing right now, is a huge step. The more people who know about the leopard cat and the challenges they face, the better.
Knowledge is power.
Exactly. And you can also support organizations that are working to protect their habitats. And this might sound kind of out there, but if you're a cat owner, keeping your kitty indoors can actually help.
How so?
Because, believe it or not, domestic cats can pose a threat to wild leopard cat populations.
We really?
Yep. When domestic cats breed with wild leopard cats, it creates hybrids. And while that might not sound like a big deal, it can actually dilute the genetic integrity of the wild species.
So it's like instead of having pure wild leopard cats, you end up with a mix that's lost some of its unique wild traits.
Precisely. And those wild traits are what allow them to thrive in their natural environment.
Wow, that's something I never would have thought of. It's a good reminder that even our everyday actions can have a ripple effect, huh?
Definitely. The story of the leopard cat is a microcosm of the challenges facing so many species today. They might not be as iconic as, say, a tiger, but they're just as important to the ecosystem.
So the next time we see a picture of a leopard cat, we should think about all of that, right? Not just their beautiful markings, but their vital role in the ecosystem and the threats they face.
Absolutely. Every species has a story to tell, and every species deserves our respect and protection.
That's a great takeaway. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's one thing you'd want our listeners to remember about leopard cats?
I think the biggest thing is to remember that they're not just cute, spotted cats. They're complex creatures with unique adaptations, a critical role in their ecosystem, and a story that's still being written.
I love that. It's like a reminder to never underestimate the power of nature and to always keep learning and exploring.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. And to all our listeners out there, what will you do to help the leopard cat thrive?